Cheers, big ears, and welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts, Leanne.
And I'm Lyle.
And we are not your usual travel influencers. No, we've decided we want to be travellers that travel under the influence. Okay, good joke?
Reasonable.
Well, there's plenty more where that come from. So join us as we travel the world, one wine at a time. Hola, mi amor.
Hola, Leonita.
Ah, Leonita. It's going to stick, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, fabulous. Today, our podcast is all about Santander. Now, Santander is in Cantabria, in northern Spain.
Correct.
See? You want to tell us a little about Santander, or we talk about how we got there first, probably?
Well, basically, I think probably how we got there. We caught a bus from Oviedo, and the bus took about 3 hours, and it was about $22 each, Australian. But what we did notice on the bus on the way there was a lot of young people, and the bus was chock-a-block and full, and they all sort of had little like bits of camping gear.
Yeah, I wonder
and
if
rats,
the
the backpacks and
because I had a bit of trouble getting tickets on that day, and this was a few months previous to, I couldn't get them, and I sort of had to wait till we got to Spain. And now I know why, because the bus was pretty full, right?
Yeah. And anyway, we arrived there at the bus station. The bus station was only about 400 metres from where our accommodation hotel.
I would have even thought it was closer than that. But
I googled,
okay.
So because I wasn't sure whether it was 200, 300, or 400. And I thought, wow.
You basically walk out of the bus station and you can see it. It's quite a big hotel. It's Hotel Bahia, yeah.
Correct.
Which Bahia means bay.
Yep.
Yeah, so you could see it's a high rise there, right on the water.
Yeah, and when we actually walked out of the bus station too, we noticed the train station directly across the road.
Yeah.
Which is what we need to go back to Madrid. So that was handy as well.
Very handy. Yes. Yeah. So we checked in.
Yeah, the check-in was seamless.
And once again, I had a bit of trouble finding accommodation, and we'll explain why that is a little bit later. Hey, but it was a nice hotel, lovely facilities, and we're on the 7th floor, weren't we?
Yeah, we're on the 7th floor.
Which and nice views out over the Bay of Santander.
Oh, look, it was beautiful, and I think Leanne's give us a bit of a spoil on this particular one. It was, as Leanne said, fantastic views over the bay, and we looked over the parklands.
We were close to lots of things, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you could walk all sorts of places within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, well, basically, you're overlooking the bay. You're opposite the ferry terminal. We were 3 minutes walk to the pier where you could do cruises of the bay. And also obviously the proximity of the rail and bus station. 5 minutes walk to the cathedral, the Basilica of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary of Santander. Less than 10 minutes walk to a massive shopping centre, and about the same distance to the best and most popular bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
And about 4 kilometres to the famous Playa del Sardinero. It's a beautiful beach.
I don't know if it's Del. What is it? Del.
See.
And Sardinero. See.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about the beach in a little while as well. The other thing our accommodation was close to was a walkway, which is one of the reasons I chose it. The promenade that walks along the bay. And
that's the Paseo de Pereda.
Oh, there you go, the Paseo de Pereda, and it goes all the way around the side that we're on of the bay, all the way around the headland to the beaches on the other side, so to the Cantabrian Sea. So that was a bit of a draw card to stay there because, as you know, we like to do a bit of walking. And also out of our window from the 7th floor, we could see the art museum, the Centro Botan, which is like a really weird-looking building. But yeah, it's I mean, some may say nice, some may say weird. But apparently we didn't actually go in the museum, but it looked pretty fancy. And there was all sorts of, not all sorts, but restaurants and cafes underneath that as well. And we could also see across the bay to another beach, sort of small village beach area. So lots to see where we were. So it was a fabulous spot, wasn't it? So,
absolutely.
So, as we said, we were close to the Paseo de Parada.
Yep.
So, as we do, we like to do a bit of walking, and so we took off. I really wanted to go to see what Santander is sort of known for. You want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, basically, the Palacio de la Magdalena.
Yeah, Palacio de Magdalena.
Palacio, yeah, de
which is
Magdalena.
the Magdalena Palace.
Yeah. Once the royal summer residence, it lies at the mouth of the Bay of Santander on the rocky peninsula, the Magdalena Peninsula. Look, so
it's a great big house which looks like a castle on this little outcrop headland that you can see basically from all over Santander because it's so massive, and it's quite well known. And if you Google Santander, what to do, it shows up as the number one thing. And I wanted to walk there, of course, so that's what we did. So we headed off, and on the way you pass a couple of little beaches, which sort of, you have the bay, and then you have a couple of, like sort of little sort of shell-shaped beaches. There's obviously the Playa de Magdalena, which is right next to the headland, and then you have the Playa Los Bikinis.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently it was the first beach that people wore bikinis on. That's why it's called that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. In Spain anyway, or in this area. And then there's another one called Playa de Camello. And so you go past, you see those little beaches on the way, and then you hit the little narrow entry into the Peninsula de Magdalena. And, there's all sorts of things to see in there, wasn't there? So we were quite surprised because we were just heading to the palace, weren't we?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden this lovely Spanish gentleman stops us and tells us there's a tourist train and we should go this way and should go that way, and we thanked him very much, but we were just out for a walk. And then we came across this rocky outcrop, and you look down and it's got seals in it and penguins and more seals. So it was like a little zoo, wasn't it?
Yeah, an open zoo.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a surprise, and then we walk a bit further and we come across a display of 3 ships, and I should know the names of those, and they're all sort of similar, aren't they, right there next to each other?
Well, there were 2 of them were similar, and then the other one, the last one, which was La Bolsa.
Yeah, well, there's 3 together and then La Bolsa, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I thought there was...
Yeah, the 3 ships of the maritime or something that the others were called. And then La Bolsa, that's right. So these are like full-size ships, yeah.
For the day, yeah.
Yeah, for the day, right? Wooden, and they're on display. And then La Bolsa is like what would you call, like not a dinghy.
A raft.
A raft. A raft. And it had like a little house on top of it, but this was an actual sea craft. Yes. It actually tell us what that did.
Well, the surprising thing was about that. Vital Ramirez, which is a bit of a local legend. He was an explorer.
Born in Santander,
born in Santander. He sailed the La Bolsa from Ecuador to Mooloolaba in 1970.
Now, Mooloolaba is in the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, where, like about 10 k's from where we live, and we're in Santander, on the north of Spain, right on the Cantabrian Sea, looking at this, boat, for want of a better word, that had actually sailed from Ecuador to Sunshine Coast where we lived. Like, we just couldn't believe it, could we?
Yeah, it took 161 days and covered 13,780 kilometres.
And this was in 1970-something, so it wasn't like it's not back in the old days.
Yeah, 1970,
For some people it's the old days.
Yeah, so...
I didn't know anything about that until until we saw that. The guy Ramirez, he was like I guess an explorer, but also a bit of a greenie, wasn't he? He liked to sort of promote living, like being able to live on the boat for and be sustainable, and he was promoting sea life and that sort of stuff. So he was a local legend. So that was fascinating, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the same guy in 1977, he recreated the Columbus epic trip across the Atlantic in 1982. So, yeah, he was, he's very much a legend.
Yeah.
And then you had the park area, which was beautiful as well, around the palace.
Yeah.
And
and what about the palace itself? That was you sort of come around one side of it, and it's right on the edge of the Peninsula de Magdalena. And there's the palace, and that was built in the 1930s or early 19th century, wasn't it?
No. The palace was built. Now you're throwing me off.
Sorry.
The palace was built...
Well, it was built as a summer house for the king and queen, wasn't it? And I think they used it from 1913 to the 1939 or something
1930,
like that. It was sort of a summer house. Now it's more of it's a museum, right?
Yeah, and it was basically financed by the populace of Santander.
Yeah. Do you mean the people?
The people, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, and now that's why people go there, and it's massive, and you come around the front of it, and it's there's beautiful manicured gardens, and there's like a huge big statue out the front, and you can stand there on this big rocky outcrop and look out over the ocean as well. So, I think we walked, I don't know how many Ks we did that day. It was a lot though, wasn't it?
I think it was about 11 all up, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was, and honestly, we had the most perfect weather.
We did have the most perfect weather, but just all that was fascinating day, because we came across those boats, we came across the raft, we came across the seals, the penguins, and then the palace itself and the actual gardens around the palace. And then before we sort of headed back, we came across this massive big stage.
Yep.
So they had this big rock festival going on as well, and that's part of the celebrations we're going to tell you about it a bit later. But that night, Simple Minds were playing there.
Correct.
Yeah.
They were headlining.
Yeah. So, Lyle, can you now tell everybody a little bit about the history of Santander? It's a little bit different than other places in Spain, isn't it?
It sure is. Look, it was first mentioned in 1068. Alphonse the 13th of Castile granted the city Fuero in 1187, which basically is just a charter.
And Alfonso?
Alfonso, he gets, I think it's the 13th, so...
there was a few of them.
Yeah, there was definitely a few of them.
In order, or they just come up with a number?
Oh, I don't know. I tried to look at that, but I couldn't. It officially became a city in 1755. Then Santander fell victim to the Great Fire in 1941. The fire destroyed... 1941? 1941, wow. So just after the Civil War.
Yeah, okay.
The fire destroyed the greater part of the medieval town centre, and it basically gutted the Romanesque cathedral. Look, the thing you notice about Santander, it's a lot different than anywhere else we've been in Spain. It's quite a modern city.
Yeah, there's not an old town. Well, obviously now we know why.
Yeah, wide roads. The architecture's nowhere near as old as everywhere else we've been, and that includes Oviedo, in northern Spain. It's very much, totally different. And even to the stage where a lot of the statues and that sort of thing are modern as well. I mean, there's one there with the kids that looks like they're about
to dive into the water.
Dive into the water and that sort of thing.
One of them's actually not. It's actually on the side of the cement. You know, it's attached, so this little fellow looks like he's just about to spring into the water.
Yeah. That's called the Los Reginas.
Sí.
And there's another one which is called the Nudistas, and it's about eight adults, young adults, and they're nude.
Yeah,
and they're just standing around. It's totally different. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that one you're just talking about there, and the other one actually are very close to that art museum. I was talking about the Centro Botín. So yeah, they love their modern art, don't they? In Santander.
Sure.
What else? Was it a fishing village or something? Is that
Yeah, it was very important to. Santander was an important port for Castile in the later Middle Ages, and also a trade with the New World. It officially became a city, which I've already said, in 1755.
Right. And it's also now the ferry terminal
for the UK.
That's right. So just about every day or every second day, this massive big ship sort of comes in, doesn't it? I think it comes overnight from the UK. So, a lot of the tourists come in through there, but they don't stay in Santander, do they?
Yeah, basically the ferry goes from, I think it's Portsmouth, Portsmouth. It's Portsmouth in the UK, and also Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I googled that.
Oh, good job.
So, look, it is absolutely beautiful, but it's nothing like the rest of Spain.
Sure, and we're just talking about this bay area, which we were lucky enough to be sort of staying at where we were in our accommodation. As we're talking about the bay, and across to the other side, you could see the mountains in the background, and that would be a bit of the Picos de Europa, I imagine, that you could see in the background there. So,
yeah, probably.
So yeah, such a beautiful view. And anything else on the history?
No, not really. That's it.
We chose Santander because we saw it on a travel show, and we wanted to, once again, we're trying to sort of, spread ourselves around a bit and visit some different areas in Spain that we hadn't been to before. And, this just looked like the most beautiful city, and we weren't disappointed, were we?
No, it was glorious.
Yeah,
I mean, the view we had from our room was just magnificent, and it was actually very, very busy, and on the bay there's lots of leisure craft. They've
got a sailing school college too, a huge big sort of building on the water, and every day there were little sailing boats going out, and lots of younger sort of teenagers and kids going out on little sailboats all across the bay there. So that was pretty nice as well.
Yeah, look, it was really busy, jet skis, sailing boats, commercial cruise boats.
Stand-up paddleboards, up that one end of the beach.
Yeah, it was just glorious.
Yeah, it was great. Well, how about we talk about the day that we went to the beach, because the first day, as we talked about, we walked around one side of the bay up to the Palacio de Magdalena and the Magdalena Peninsula. But from there, if you looked the other way, you could actually see the beach area, or more the sort of biggest beach area in Santander. So, if you imagine Santander is like shaped like a headland, and on one side is the bay, and then you go around the Peninsula de Magdalena, and on the other side is the beach, right?
Which is the Cantabrian Sea. The
Cantabrian Sea, correct. And this beach area is the most popular beach area. And what is it? The Playa del Sardinero? What is that? Sardinero. Lo siento, mi amor. Sí. And it's actually two beaches. There's the Primero, the first, and the Segundo, which is the second. And they're divided by the Jardines de Piquio, the gardens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, and we walked out. It's like a little Balcón de Europa, remember, from Nerja?
Sure.
It's quite beautiful. You know, it's got lots of flowers in the gardens, and it's got like a pergola up one end, and you know lots of. I've got pretty photos of that. You know, with the bright colours of the flowers and the beach in the background. So so on one side of the hut in the gardens is the first beach of Sardinero, and on the other side is the second beach. And we decided we were going to have a day at the beach. So
we did. We
didn't walk. We got a taxi over because we got our beach gear with us.
Yeah.
And we just hired a couple of like a couple of chairs and an umbrella from these two guys that were really helpful and friendly. And when you tell people you're from Australia and try and speak Spanish, they just bend over backwards to help you, don't they?
Yeah.
So tell us about this beach.
It is amazing. It's huge. I looked it up. It's 1.3 kilometres long and it's 80 metres wide. Like, it's just huge. And then it's at the backdrop to, you know, on the town side, you've got all these beautiful hotels.
They're how would you describe them? I'm trying to imagine what that you would compare them to, because they're not like your typical modern hotels, but they're not like the ancient hotels either. You know, they're tall and white and majestic, and
the only word I can think of is elegant, and second word classic.
Sure.
Because there's the casino. Yeah. There's a casino over there as well.
Yeah.
Not that we're gamblers, but that was a beautiful white building. And then, as you say, there's cafes, restaurants. I've never, and I said to you this earlier, coming for Australia, you've got Bondi, you've got all these magnificent beaches, Noosa, Cottesloe in Western Australia, but nothing compares to the elegance of this beach.
Okay, yeah, I would agree. And I haven't been to Bondi when it's full on, but I have seen it on TV. But and it's quite a small beach in comparison to this one. But I have never seen so many people on a beach in my life.
I reckon there had to be 10,000 people on the beach.
I don't know. But when you say it, you think, oh my God, that'd be awful. But because it's so wide, like 80 metres or wide. There's so much room, and most of those people were actually doing like a little walk, weren't they, when you decided to join them, didn't you?
Yeah. Again, we jagged again, perfect weather. Leanne had put the challenge in for me to go in the water.
Lyle doesn't like cold water. I know we've mentioned that before, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah, well, I don't go in the water unless it's above 21. And Leanne was calling me. What were you calling me?
Sook.
No, that's not what you were calling me.
Anyway.
Starts with soft.
Let's move on.
Anyway, so I thought, well, I can't...
It's a family show, Lyle.
I can't... work it out. I can't not go in because it's a family show. Leanne will tell everybody. So anyway, I went for a walk, and then I sort of dipped my toe in the water, and I thought, oh, that's not too bad. And seriously, I would have thought it was about 23 or 24 degrees.
The water in the Cantabrian Sea, at the north of Spain, where it's supposed to be colder, was warmer than the water off Nerja in the Costa del Sol, in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, it was definitely warmer. Yeah. Like there was very little chill factor, so it was just glorious.
We had a lovely day there, and then we decided we're going to have a nice lunch, and there's a restaurant right there, you know, happened to be right behind our little area where we're staying.
El Cerbal.
Okay, and we had the menu del dia.
Yeah. And why did we go there? Because the guys that were doing the lounge, the sun lounges, they recommended we go there, and they said, oh, it's a Michelin star, it's Michelin star.
And it was, wasn't it?
And it was absolutely glorious.
And of course we got a table right on the window overlooking the beach, and
I think, Leanne, if anybody had been in front of us, because we were first there, we were lined up, I think if anybody had to try to get the window seat, I think Leanne would have pushed him out the way, because it was just so beautiful. The food, my God.
Yeah, what you had something, monkfish and something?
I had a stuffed pepper, red pepper with monkfish and scallop. beautiful. What we had for dessert, we're not sure because there was a bit of a mix-up there. And we had the famous by now Spanish cheesecake for dessert. So for €25, which is, a little bit dearer than most.
It's a Michelin star restaurant.
But it was beautiful.
Right on the beach.
We had a fabulous bottle of wine.
Santander, it's not so bad. Right?
So
we had a lovely day.
And then the chef came out and...
he came out and said, how was your meal? And
yeah.
I know this is awful, but all I could see was like a Band-Aid on his nose.
So by this stage we've had a bottle of wine, and then we had another couple of glasses as well because we thought, if you're going to go down, we'll go down in flames. So we went back out to the sun chairs, and Lan said, "Did you notice that Band-Aid on his nose?" And I said, "What Band-Aid?" Anyway, I did notice it because it was... Anyway, we just went into a stew.
Molly.
Yeah, and then we decided, it's probably time to go home while we still could.
But the problem was we were trying to find a taxi and there wasn't one to be found. So we had to walk home.
Yeah.
But we found a shortcut. We found a tunnel which took a fair bit of the... distance off, and we'd had enough wine and enough time relaxing that we didn't care.
Yeah, it didn't matter. We did, and as we sort of on that side of the Santander, they've got a permanent amusement park, and they had a huge big top circus tent.
Yeah, and there's the football stadium over there as well. So that side of town, we sort of said, when we go back, would we stay on the ferry side, the bay side, or the beach side? And we still can't quite decide. So if we go back, we might go stay a few on each side because they both have so much to offer, don't they?
Oh yeah, lovely.
So once again, one of the things that I looked at when we were finding places to stay was day trips that we could do. I didn't book anything before we left, but one of the day trips that you can do from Santander was to a little village called Comillas. See? And we booked that. And we headed off with there were two other ladies on the tour.
Yeah, from Slovenia. I know I can remember one of the ladies was Barbara.
Yes.
And I think the other lady started with a K, Katie or something like that.
Well,
but they were really nice ladies.
Yeah, and our driver for the day was Mercedes.
Correct.
Yes. So
I thought when Lan said Mercedes, I thought that was what she was going to pick us up in, but no, that wasn't it. Look, it's
about 45 minutes drive.
50 kilometres from Santander to Comillas. I'm not sure whether you remember, but we did actually see a documentary on Comillas on TV.
We did, but I didn't realise that's what it was called. It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was the documentary was about the train trip along northern Spain that went to the lakes that we talked about in our previous episode on Oviedo, and also went to Comillas, which I didn't realise that it was, because in Comillas, what it is most known for is the
Capricho de Gaudi,
and that is
basically the famous Antonio Gaudi. It was a house that he designed and built before he became famous.
Yeah, before he became famous and did the Sagrada Familia and his other sort of architectural buildings in Barcelona. He designed and built. He was sort of an up and coming, sort of architect, and he designed and built it for his friend, the Marquis de what was his guy's name?
Okay. He was the first Marquis. Oh no. Actually, that's not correct.
You don't know.
I do know. I know.
Anyway, you become a marquis when you're a rich person, and this.
No, it wasn't for the marquis.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking for that.
I thought it was for the marquis. Well, you just ruined my whole story. Thanks very much.
Built for the summer use of a wealthy client, Maximo Diaz de Quijano. Actually, it's Quijano. Because,
So anyway, it was built for a friend who had a lot of money, and the Capricho de Gaudi is now open for the public to go through. Now, you need, I know I say this every episode, but you need to go and check out our pictures of the Capricho on our website, beachtravelwine.com, and go to the stories on Instagram under Santander, because this house is beautiful. It's sort of got some Moorish influence in it as because of the brickwork and the ceramics. So that's
and also the wrought iron and tiles.
Yeah, and tiles, right. So he's sort of brought that into it. But the unique thing he's got, and I don't know how many are on this building. Someone's obviously counted them, but I didn't ever find that out. Sunflowers.
Yeah. Absolutely
dominate, especially the I guess the round turret that goes up, that you can go up to the attic.
Yeah, it's like a minaret.
There we go, minaret, turret, yeah. Minaret, tomato. Minaret. You say minaret, I say turret, okay. But yeah, you walk up the circular staircase, which is quite narrow. Gaudi must have been a little fella and his mate. And you could go up to the top and it was a building that you would never imagine you'd see anywhere.
No, it was
yellow tiles, green tiles, ceramic sunflowers, red tiles on the ceiling, and then the timber work inside.
The window ledges, I suppose.
Yeah.
Window frames were just.
And there's some furniture that he had designed as well inside, like original Gaudi pieces of furniture.
And the windows were floor to ceiling.
And the ceilings were decorated, and some of them had, I can't remember the number, but they had these decorations on the ceiling, and the amount of those little decorations are the exact same amount of number of keys there are on a piano. And so the guy the guy he designed it for was a real piano player. So just all these fascinating little things. And then there's a little hothouse that they built for plants, and that was on the southern side, which in the northern hemisphere, that's where the sunny side is, and that had all this glass which then absorbed all the heat to heat the rest of the house, because in Comillas it can be sunny in the morning and turn foggy and misty and rain
in the afternoon.
So they were warming the house naturally. And also he designed the gardens, and there's like a circular garden with beautiful flowers in it, and like a little garden hut built into the side of the hill, sort of behind the main garden area, which is original, like it's in its original state is what I mean. And behind that there's like a cathedral that you can see in the background as well. So these great big beautiful trees, the manicured grass, the beautiful flowering gardens, and the circular paving. And you walk up around the garden with a view back down over the Capricho, which you just stand there in amazement, don't you?
Yeah, it's not like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yeah, fascinating. It's so. Please go and have a look at that. Like, it was just beautiful, and to think that it was Gaudi's, one of his first things that he designed. But apparently, by the time it was almost finished, he was starting to get a real name for himself
in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Yeah. And that was built between 1883 and 1885.
Oh, it didn't take long.
No, a couple of years.
Yeah, okay. There you go. I would have thought it would take longer because of the intricacy on it. Anyway, but the other thing that we saw, there was a few other things we saw, and it's not just about the Capricho de Gaudi in Comillas. There is the university on top of the hill, which is one of those buildings that just sort of seems to dominate the mountains, doesn't it? And
it overlooks the rest of the city.
It does, yeah. And originally the guy who built that wanted to build a school, didn't he?
Yeah. So this is the first Marquis of Comillas. Comillas.
Sí.
And his name was Antonio Lopez y Lopez. That's it. And he basically immigrated to Cuba in 1831, And in 1850, he founded the shipping company, eventually become the Compañía Transatlantic Español. He also was the founder and president of the Banco Español Colonial, and he financed the construction of the Comillas Pontificia University.
So
now,
he was a rich guy, made his money in South America.
Probably one of the richest men in Spain.
And so he wanted to build a school, but he was like, oh, don't be ridiculous, there's not enough children for a school. You know, what you need to build is a
seminary, which was the Jesuits, and they convinced him that to build this university for the local candidates for the priesthood.
Right. And so we got to go into that, didn't we? And there's some Gaudi influence in that as well. Like there's actually like a cathedral that's part of that, and they're doing that up at the moment, but it has like ceramics all on the outside of that, which, you know, Gaudi designed. Yeah. And then there was the room that had all the people that helped build this university are painted as figures from the Bible, but they've put the
heads of the builders,
right, and then and their names. So, you know, like there's all these scenes from the Bible, and they're probably, I don't know, 3-4 feet, like a meter. No, they'd be about 2 meters high, all like a frieze all the way around the top of this huge room with all these, you know. People.
So whoever did it had a really good sense of humour.
Yeah. So there was, and then just outside that room is the wooden carvings of all the animals that went in the ark.
Oh, Noah's Ark. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So there's just it's dark timber and it's exquisite, the animals that, like, that blew me away. Once again, go and check it out. It's worth checking out those pictures on our website. So that was, and from there you could see back down, and you couldn't see the Capricho de Gaudi, but you could see there was a cathedral that you could see that we didn't get to go in. Apparently it's empty inside now, but, you know, it was pretty beautiful view, you know, and we were there on a day that it wasn't sunny, and there was a bit of mist, and it was just like out of a fairy tale, I thought, because I think if the sun was shining bright, it wouldn't have had the same effect as the green rolling hills with the cathedral and the university and the Gaudi buildings and the decorations, and then just over the fence, the rock fence behind the university, is the ocean.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, you had no idea you're in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. You want to tell us just a little bit about Comillas before we move on, like the beach area and so on? Like,
sure. Like we when we before we went to actually to see Gaudi's house, we actually checked out the plaza, and which is called,
or as we say in Spain, plaza.
Oh, the Plaza Coro Campos. Basically, it's surrounded by mansions. Like, there was obviously a lot of money in Comillas. But there is also the 17th century church of San Cristobal. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a funny story about this. The original church was down now where the
Capricho is.
No. The burial, the cemetery. So that's the original church. Now, apparently there was a duke who got the shits one day because he couldn't get to where he normally sat, and he, you know, kicked up a bit of a stink. So all the locals then decided to say, all right, well, you can have that. And they built another church in actual the plaza. And so that's a bit of a legend.
The plaza is like it's really ancient. Like it's once again, it's one of those little places that, you know, you think could be a movie set, right?
Yeah, and you think it could be in Switzerland rather than, you know, like one of those sort of countries rather than in Spain.
There's little narrow streets and cobblestone plazas and, you know, these famous old buildings, and it just, I I never knew anything about this place. And then there's the beach.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, the beach.
Is it just the Playa de Comillas or not?
Yeah, pretty much. It's the perfect stretch of golden sand set in a lovely bay with a small fishing harbour at one end.
Yeah, and it's surrounded. It's got restaurants and accommodation all along that little beach.
Yeah. Sure.
So imagine this: you drive into the village. You've got this beautiful, university up on the green hills. You've got a cathedral which is in that sort of pink colours. And you've got the cobblestone plazas, the massive, big, gorgeous mansions. The Capricho de Gaudi, you've got this ancient old cemetery up on a hill, and then you turn the corner and there's this beautiful stretch of beach, with the balustrade promenade and statues, up on top of the headland as well.
And it's surrounded basically by, some really nice apartments. Yeah. Now, we were told that those apartments basically remain empty for most of the year, and they only really get used in Spanish holidays by the wealthy Basque people.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of money there.
Such a beautiful little spot.
Oh, it's...
fabulous day trip, see or no?
Fairy tale.
Fairy tale. So as Santander is like surrounded by water, and we actually had to swim in the ocean, but we decided we probably should, do an activity on the water. So we went and booked a little cruise. It was just like a couple of hours, out on the water, wasn't it? So
yeah, and look, the pier's only about 5 minutes from our hotel. I think it was €11.30 each, and it was just the perfect sunny day to take a trip on the bay.
Yeah, there wasn't a breath of wind. It was calm, and it's it's always nice to get another view, isn't it? So you're out in the water, so you take off and you sort of heading, out of the bay, past all the the buildings of Santander and the little beaches that we walked past on our first day, and you go out past the Peninsular de Magdalena, and you see the Magdalena Palace right up. You can sort of see how how incredible it looked with the rock face of the cliff going up all the way around. Like we'd seen it obviously from the land side, but seeing it from the water was pretty damn impressive.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah, and then some little islands that you pass on the way, but first you go around that headland and all the way along the beaches, the El Sardinero Beaches, the first beach and the second beach, and
then you can see the golf club on the headland. And then, looks magnificent. And then you go around that a little bit further, and there's that really, really small, secluded beach. The
Somo or something. Isn't
no,
it?
Magdalenas.
And there's a lighthouse.
There is, and that's called the Faro de Capo, Mayo. And once you get there, you start to head back.
So that's a nice slow cruise, and you. Looking back at the beach, you can see the expanse of sand, and you can see the umbrellas up and the colours of of those, and then you see, as you talked about before, those classic accommodation buildings and the restaurants and the casino. It's just
very elegant,
and the promenade and those little gardens I talked about before as well. Just beautiful seeing it from the ocean. And that's right, we sort of drifted there for a while, and then we slowly turned back, and we did a bit of a circumnavigation of this small island where they were doing scuba diving.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, quite a popular little spot because there was some private sort of watercraft there as well, sort of in the bay area. But once again, go and check out those photos. The water was just beautiful blue, and there's people scuba diving and people lazing around on floats in the water, and there was a little lighthouse on that one, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. That was de Mouro.
Okay, Isla de Mouro.
Yep.
We sort of hung around there for a while and floated, and it was just so relaxing and beautiful. So one side you've got like the beach on back there with the golf course, and then we're back closer to the Peninsula de Magdalena, and we're floating around this Isla de Mouro, with people scuba diving and floating around on the blue water. And then we sort of head back towards where we got on, but this time we go over the other side of the bay, where we've been sort of looking out of our window, just looking at this area for so long. It was so nice to get up close and personal with that area,
which is obviously nowhere, it's pretty underdeveloped.
But
that particular side of the island.
I was reading how that Playa de Somo is actually quite exclusive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that might be why it's undeveloped, because it's quite expensive and quite exclusive, that beach area, they're saying. So you can actually go over on a boat and hop off and have the day there, and and then come back. And there was one little island in particular that they just sell trips to the restaurant and back, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like El Punta, I think it was.
That's
called.
right. That's right.
Yeah. So we're sort of coming back down there, and as we're coming back down, looking at this beach on the other side of the bay, you can actually see the trees on the mountains in the background of that. So you've got this deep bottle green, sort of almost pine foresty mountain, and then you've got like the little village, and then the beautiful, long beach of on that side of the bay. And then you're coming back, and you've got all the sailing boats and the other watercraft, because it was the perfect day for people to be out on the water.
I couldn't think of anything I would rather be doing than that day.
Sure, it was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, we jagged it again.
Yeah, I was like, I think we should go out in the water. I'm like, okay, we'll do it, and I'm so glad we did. It was a perfect day to do that. Anything else about that cruise? It's cheap, it's fabulous. They go every couple of hours.
You can get a beer?
Oh, yeah, well, of course. We had...
cerveza, sorry.
Yeah. I think we had a cerveza con limon.
Sí.
Yeah.
Which is pretty... it's only about 2% alcohol, so...
Like lemon squash, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it was good. Very cold.
Yes. So now, we want to tell you something else about Santander, that this will explain why it was hard to get a bus seat, and it will explain why it was hard to get accommodation, and when I found accommodation it was actually a bit pricey, and it will explain why there was 10,000 people or so on the beach. Now, Santander, for the week, the exact dates that we'd booked in had, what was it?
The Semana Grande.
Well done. You sound so Espanol. Semana Grande is basically party week.
Party week.
Right? And they do this every year in Santander, except for the last 3 years. So
because of the COVID.
Sure. And so we arrive on the day that this party week starts after 3 years. And the whole town, and I don't know how much of northern Spain, other parts of Spain, people were there.
Apparently they do it in San Sebastian as well.
Okay. Well, we were in Santander, and I think everybody who was on holidays in Spain were also in Santander. That's why there were so many people. Now, party week.
What does that involve?
Well, let's just explain what you can see from our hotel. Like, right next to our hotel...
Yeah, you've got the pop-up tapas and pincho bars.
So it's a plaza, right? Like a little plaza. And there would have been a dozen little wooden structures that look like cubby houses, but are actually pop-up restaurants, as Lyle said. So the famous restaurants or popular restaurants all around town set up little pincho bars in these little structures. And not just in this plaza, this is the one just outside our hotel. Yeah. We saw at least 3-4 other plazas around
that
our
had
area.
the same. Yeah, well, there was some over at the beach.
Yep, over the beach as well.
And there was also some in the shopping centre area.
Yep. And what they're doing is they're selling a pincho, which could be like a small hamburger, it could be a chicken kebab, it could be a little dish of paella, and a drink for €3.50.
Yeah, it's ridiculously
right?
cheap. Yeah. And it was good. We had the paella.
So good,
yeah, it was great.
And you could go to one to the other to the other. That was amazing. So that was just outside our hotel.
Oh, then you had the street
performers.
Yeah.
Well, every day there was a dance group. So whether it was like a children's group or an adult flamenco show or like modern dancing, there was just some amazing dance show
street
with the costumes. Like the traditional costumes right there as well. And then, as well as that, there were like the street acrobats, and there was
every bloody afternoon. If you wanted to go actually have a bit of a siesta, forget it because the street acrobats were there.
And then they had like a playground for children, like a jumping castle and merry-go-round and street art and balloons and, people walking around. There's Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and all that's going on.
Face painting. Balloon sculpting.
And then they had, like in the rotunda, they had like a
more adult...
a much sort of senior, like...
type musical act.
Yeah. And this is just outside our place, right?
And this is in the afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on every corner, almost, there's either a DJ playing, right?
Yeah. Street corner DJs. Like, it was unbelievable.
And so every restaurant, tapas bar, there's people just people all over the street out partying, having a nice time. And as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, at the Peninsular de Magdalena, they actually had like an outdoor venue that every night they had like big acts there.
Yeah, and that you had to pay for those acts.
Yeah.
We didn't actually go because it was just that little bit far, but as Leanne said,
night after night after night after night.
You had I think it might have been Ricky Martin's brother might have been there, Pete Martin.
Danny Martin, I think it was.
Was it Danny Martin?
Danny.
Okay.
And Simple Minds, as I said before.
Yeah, so
they were the names I recognised. And then about 5 minutes walk from we were, in another plaza, they had a stage permanently set up.
Yeah.
And every day they had two shows there, one at 6:30 and one at 8:30. Now, they had bands like, I called them the Three Amigos, so it was just like...
there was flamenco, there was Spain's answer to the Wiggles, remember?
That's right, yeah.
There was the Three Amigos, there was another band that I looked up and I can't remember the name of them, but they were
doing covers, weren't they?
Yeah, they were doing like Beatles covers, but they were I know they had their own music out, probably back in the 90s.
But some of them were doing like songs that we know, but in Spanish lyrics. Like it was. So every night that just went on, night after night.
And then, as we said, there was a circus down at
their circus. They had bullfights every night.
There was bullfights every night.
Yeah.
The logistics of it must have been unbelievably difficult. But in saying that, everything was quality. The locals, there was no problems. There was no one being untidy, no one getting drunk, no one...
It just added to the atmosphere. We have to admit that, the first night we're just like, oh my goodness, and then we're just like, actually, we just got to embrace this because, like how many people actually get to be in Semana Grande after 3 years of not having it, and COVID, and with all these Spanish families, like everywhere, families everywhere, young people, and just the atmosphere, and to be part of that.
Oh, and the fashion, like from teenagers to grandmothers, the fashion.
Well, I was watching the little kids because as you know, I've got ocho nietos.
Sí.
Ahora. The little kids, like the parents dress them the same. It's so cute, the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old got the same outfits on.
yeah. But it would, some of the young girls and young guys, I mean, talk about good looking.
Yeah.
And well, beautifully dressed.
Everyone going out at night were dressed up beautifully, even if they're just going to the 350 Pincho,
they look glamorous.
Yeah, so that really, I'll be interested to see what Santander's like without all those Spanish people partying and having a nice time, but it just added to our week, didn't it?
Oh, it was brilliant.
Now, Lyle, the question to finish, as we do.
Well, we really didn't talk about the food there. We went to...
we didn't. We did. We talked about the pinchos.
Well, the pinchos, we did that a few nights. We did...
we were recommended
Casalita, which was a tapas bar.
And that was fabulous.
That was really, really good.
Yeah.
But as always...
pinchos, they sort of call them up there.
Yeah, that's correct. Look, the food, as always, was very, very good. The wine was very, very good. We probably started drinking more Albarino rather than the Vidal up there, which is because the Albarino comes from Galicia, which is up in northern Spain. That was beautiful.
We found a little Japanese restaurant.
And we did. We I suppose we were getting to the stage where we were looking for something different to eat, seeing we'd been out every night for about...
That's right, 11 weeks.
11 weeks.
Spanish food's very heavy on the meat and the bread.
Yes.
And not as heavy on the vegetables and things that I like. So the Japanese restaurant we found, which had the prawns and the what do they call that? Sushi.
Sushi, yeah,
and the noodles and stuff. That was nice, but that was just outside the main area, so it's obviously quite new, but very popular as well.
Oh, look! It was the food there was as good as I've eaten.
Yeah, really nice.
And it was. I think it was YLIS was the name of it. But it was it was.
That's the Japanese restaurant.
And really, I had a look, and it worked out about $100 per day for food and booze.
Yeah, and we eat
which
out
is
all
pretty,
the time.
which is
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, which is I don't know how we did it, and the accommodation was about $270
that was a bit,
per night, but it was worth it.
Yeah,
worth it.
It was. Now we just need to finish up on Santander. As you can see, we're pretty impressed with Santander. See, tell me your favourite place to have a glass of vino in Santander.
Oh, that restaurant.
Which restaurant?
El Cerbo.
Oh, over at the beach.
Yeah.
Over in Sardinero Beach. Yeah, that day.
Sardinero Beach.
I see. But we had some nice wine there, didn't we?
Yeah, and we had a fair bit too, which was even better. I think another one, maybe second, is having a beer on the cruise.
I was just going to... You didn't get two options, mate.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think my favourite place to have a wine would be... I'd forgotten about the one over on the beach. I really liked Casalita because it was a nice little authentic, bar that was, once again just full of locals. I thought that was, one of my favourite little places in there.
What about the pop-up?
Oh, okay. That was nice too, wasn't it?
Because it was different.
It was different, yeah. Lots
of
places.
It was only about 2 minutes walk from where we were.
Oh, such a lot of nice places to have a glass of wine in Santander.
Santander is amazing.
And we will be going back, sí or no?
Absolutely.
Please go to our website at beachtravelwine.com to check out the show notes from this episode and all the photos. And as I said, you go to our Instagram at Beach Travel Wine and to the story highlights to Santander to see all the videos and pictures that we took of our time around there. And I'm sure you will be impressed with some of the stuff that we saw while we were there. All right, thanks for listening.
Adios, amigos.